Good evening, everyone. What's up? I just ate a satisfying meal and topped it off with a measly dessert. This is Mr. Hotta speaking. Previously, I did the 19th part to the top 45 worst SpongeBob episodes, and that's pretty much it so far. Today is the top 45 worst SpongeBob episodes, part 20, the final part. Finally, we have made the very last part. Now it's time for the top 45 worst SpongeBob episode countdown at number 1. It is time for the worst SpongeBob episode for the second edition. This abysmal episode was very close to numbers 3 and 2, but has been chosen after looking at parts of the episode. It has been chosen to be, drumroll please, not from November 2011 and from the many poorly executed episodes from 2008, I meant season 8, Pet Sitter Pat, once again an episode all from Pat's poor excuse behavior. This could have been second or third on the list, but was reconsidered from looking back at everything from the beginning to end. Here's how the episodes start off. The mail arrives at SpongeBob's house. SpongeBob gets a letter from his grandma. The letter says that he's invited to his grandma's birthday. She's turning even older. What? Were the writers too thoughtless to come up with an actual age? Oh, come on! SpongeBob trips over Gary, realizing that he will be left alone, needs someone to look after him while he's away. The one person he asks is Squidward, who refuses to babysit because Gary ruined his kelp garden from eating it, and he thinks Gary's repulsive. The next person he asks is his best butt buddy, Patrick Star. Apparently, Patrick Star was talking to his friend named Funny. That seemed to be nothing but a puddle. That puddle's your friend? That puddle's not even an anomalous object. Patrick agrees to take good care of Gary. SpongeBob explains what must be done, but is ignorant and he thinks that he knows everything. Wrong. Not only that, he ignores everything that SpongeBob has to say that was very important. He even had the nerve to say that he's the most responsible guy that SpongeBob knows. Bull. All he did was eat those fattening coral bits when he was supposed to be listening to every detail that his best friend had to say. With that, he rushes SpongeBob out of the door, assuring him he'll have nothing to worry about. And he's so trustable. After that, he offers Gary a walk, but is ever so distracted from his upset tummy. He must have eaten way too many of those fattening coral bits. Well, he is obese. For the rest of that afternoon, he is in a bathroom doing who knows what, probably beating his meat the entire time. Once dusk, Patrick finally feels well enough to get out of the bathroom. He spent that much time in a bathroom? Gosh, how sick is he? How long does he have to beat his meat for? All he thinks about is himself the whole time. By that time, Gary is starving because he hasn't eaten all day. Patrick was so worried about his fat belly that he forgot all about poor Gary. Not to mention he was so brainless that he ate all the snail food right in front of Gary. In other words, he didn't feed Gary at all. Back at Grandma's house, SpongeBob gets so worried a gelatin mold of Gary. That makes him worried, making him call Patrick, who is supposed to look after Gary, and he isn't. Gary is supposed to get a bath. Patrick thinks that Gary stinks, but it's Patrick that stinks from his smelly armpit. That must have been due to poor personal hygiene. Patrick doesn't even have a personal hygiene. He's got so many issues as it is. Patrick uses a snail food as soap. When Gary tries to eat it, Patrick says, "No, Gary, you don't need the bath. We get in. You starved him. He's got to eat. You're trying to kill him." That angers Gary and he runs away. Patrick goes after him. He throws the TV, which breaks. Carelessness. SpongeBob calls him once again, but he won't listen to a darn tootin' thing SpongeBob has to say. Well, just because he never ever does. Out of nowhere, Patrick shows Gary a flamethrower. Yeah, he actually shows a pet snail a flamethrower. Whoa, what the? A flamethrower? Really? Seriously, a flamethrower? Where on earth did he get that lethal weapon from? That's dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Gosh. Doesn't Patrick have any common sense? Even a little bit? He's gonna get someone killed one of these days. He tried to kill Gary as it is. Gary runs away, but Patrick goes after it, saying, "If you can't come to the bath, then the bath's gonna come to you." That makes a huge mess that Patrick is way too lazy to clean up. He dries off Gary in a way that hurts him very badly. I think he uses like a hairdryer. So Gary has eaten, had his bath, time to watch a TV. No, just no. Wrong. Bull. What do you mean he's eaten? Gary the snail has not eaten. Patrick starved him. Then Patrick falls asleep. Meanwhile, the running water has been left on due to Patrick's irresponsibility. It floods the entire house. Patrick assumes that's another bath that Gary wanted. No, it's not. It's all your fault from your irresponsibility that the house is flooding, not Gary's. Can't you see what you've done already? You flooded the entire house. Back at Grandma's house, SpongeBob has a cake for his grandma, of course, because it's her birthday after all. SpongeBob thinks that the house is burning down. He calls Pat for the third time, thinking that the two are in danger. SpongeBob puts his grandma to bed very quickly because she is tired and runs back to his house to see what's really going on, only to find out that Gary was reading a bedtime story to Patrick, who was sleeping. Despite all of the damage, serious damage that has been done to the house, SpongeBob is happy to see that Gary is doing very well. How is he doing well if Patrick starved him? Patrick can't believe that what Gary was reading was snail tales to him. The end. All three of these episodes were all on these positions, all due to Patrick's bad behavior, or unacceptable behavior, I should say. Not only did Patrick destroy much of SpongeBob's property, which had to be like thousands of dollars, even more, he almost killed Gary. He didn't feed or walk Gary like he was supposed to. He didn't even follow a single instruction that he was given. He didn't listen to a darn tootin' thing that SpongeBob had to say. That shows that Patrick can't do anything right, even in the slightest. All he did this entire episode was make things far worse than ever by destroying everything in sight. How is Gary not starving the rest of the episode? Why on earth was he reading a bedtime story to Patrick after all he had done to him? That does not make sense. How could it have been out of the flood that fast? Why didn't SpongeBob eat the cake at all? How do you not see all the damage that was done? This is the second time we see Patrick being a smart aleck, even though to his own best friend SpongeBob. I'm sorry if this episode didn't seem like number one, but it was in a mix, so I just put it at number one just because there was really no episode that made number one because they were so similar to each other. Like, any of the top 10 episodes could have been at number one, really. I mean, Smooth Jazz and Bikini Bottom from the first countdown, that's going to stay at number one, just to let you know. And the Googly Artist will stay at number two. So, I actually might make a top 10 or 5 worst SpongeBob episodes of all time, combining 2 countdowns into one of the chosen episodes that were abysmal enough to make that. So, I'm sorry for rambling for 20 parts, but there were 20 parts because there's just so much to talk about in this countdown. Each episode had a lot to offer. So, after 20 parts, that wraps the whole thing up. I'm still deciding to make another countdown sometime later. That's all I have to say for the entire countdown. So, with that, this ends the top 45 worst SpongeBob episodes, second edition countdown. That is all I have to say for the video and the countdown. Good night. See you later. Gotta get to bed. Good night.